All right, welcome to lecture 3 of verifying trig identities. So here's a little twist to the game a little bit. You'll notice there's a lot more squareds going on over here. So the cool thing about the reciprocal and quotient identities is they all can be squared all the way through. So remember that the golden rule of algebra, as long as we do the same thing to both sides, we don't change the equality. So what we can do here is we can square this side and get sine squared. We could square this side, which would be a fraction. So 1 times 1, well, that's 1. Cosecant times cosecant, well, that's cosecant squared. So basically, we can use any of these 8 identities as squared. So we could say cotangent squared is equal to cosine squared divided by sine squared. Okay? So that's how we're going to deal with this one up here. Still the cool strategy of turning everything into sines and cosines. And we're still going to pick on the bully, right? So we're still picking on this left side, pick on the big one, okay? But now in looking at cosecant of theta, we're going to see it over here, but instead of looking at this basic reciprocal identity, we're going to square everything, okay? So if cosecant of theta would be the equivalent of 1 over sine squared of theta, so it would be this guy here. So we're going to trade cosecant squared of theta for this guy. We're going to have tangent squared here. Well, again, we can use this quotient identity to to make it look like this, right? So this is tangent squared. I'm just, again, using that strategy of turning everything into sines and cosines. And remember, we got multiplication in between those. Even the 1, hey, 1 is just a number, right? But we can turn that into sines and cosines too. And we can do it in a way that's smart. We can see over here that sine squared is going to cancel out and that cosine squared is going to be the only thing left. So let's, instead of writing 1 here, let's turn 1 into this fraction of cosine squared over cosine squared, which we know also is just another version of 1. Remember, I'm working on the left side of the equation. I'm trying to make it look like the right side. That's verifying, okay? So we're going to get this first cancellation for free. So that's really cool. So what that's going to do is it's going to leave us with this 1 over cosine squared over there. So give me a second to build that. So cosecant or cosine squared of theta will be the denominator. And then the numerator is just going to be the 1 on top. So we'll get that 1 on top here. So here is the fraction on the left side. This fraction simplifies to this, okay? And then on the right side, we're going to get this, okay? So what we have here then is common denominators already. So what we can do from that is we can take these common denominators and we can kill fractions, right? So a good strategy is just to wipe out fractions. So we can just combine this, and what we're going to get on top is 1 minus cosine squared. So that's going to be my new top. And our denominator then is just this cosine squared of theta. Okay, so this is now what my left fraction looks like. Again, always remember what you're trying to make. I'm trying to make tangent squared. So I'm close. I got cosine squared on the bottom where I need it. I need the top to be sine squared. And sure enough, I go look at this version over here, this version of the Pythagorean identity that says 1 minus cosine squared is the same as saying sine squared. So what we can do is we can take this sine squared and make that the top. And then what you have is sine squared of theta over cosine squared of the same theta on the left side, which now we can see that is how we get it to equal this side right here, right? So remember, the key to this part of this lesson is these top 8 identities. So the reciprocal and quotient identities, we can square, we can cube, we can to the 4th power, we can raise those up to any power we want.